ground, and it's coming right back up into aquifer. Instead of building more retention ponds and updating their infrastructure, that's their solution, which stinks really.
But they're going to have a nice pier. Have a real nice.
Oh yeah, it's going to be beautiful, isn't it? They'll probably have a nice flow pipe right at the end of it. There used to be one, they always dump by the Peter O'Knight Airport. And then they killed Boca Ciega Bay about 1.5 years ago. That poor guy that works at a Gulfport that has the paddle boards and, you know, all that of kayaks, and he had to quit operating. The sewage was so nasty in there. Terrible what we do. You know, now every trip I go, I see a big loggerhead turtle. Todd has a place in the bay. He catches keeper red snapper every time he goes. I've seen cameras put down at the bridge. We got hog snapper. We got yellowtails. Tampa Bay has really come a long ways. If we quit dumping it, I honestly believe in the next 2 years we will have keeper red snapper regularly in state waters within 9 miles where you can go target them, because they're just running everything off the other structure. They're so prolific breeders. Be ready next year. I just saw a thing. I'm going to call Dylan Hubbard if you ever want to know what's going on. Dylan goes to all the meetings. And they're lowering the total allowable catch of red grouper next year from 2.51 million pounds, and I think that was for the Rex, to 0.91, which means I think we're going to have closures. We may have a size change, and they might take us to 1 fish. Hopefully not half a fish like the cobia. That one was the best one I've ever seen. I've been going to those meetings I finally gave up 1 year or 2 ago, because I used to almost have a stroke when I know why people go postal. You know, I asked them on red snapper, I said, Bob Shipp, who's the leading expert on red snapper in the world, was the chairman of the council. He's wrote 3 papers that said we could have 6 months like we used to. We could have 2 to 4 fish a piece, and we would never hurt them because they underestimate how many there are so badly. So the last meeting I was asked, I used my question. They give you like 4 or 5 minutes, and I said, why, if you have the leading expert there, that you ignore the science that he's developed? You know, what's your deal there? You know their answer? We don't take questions. You can make a comment, but I don't want you to ask them a question because they know I said, yeah, there's no good answer to that, is there? And that's the kind of crap you face when you go to for years, if you didn't go, they figured we didn't care. CCA used to go a lot years ago. I was a board member on the Fishing Rights Alliance. Dennis O'Hearn that ran it. He's the only reason we've been fishing the last so many years, really, was he was a big thorn in their side, and he really hammered them a lot. A lot of our guys went to Washington on their own dime. The thing that disappointed me was the little tiny bit of support we got from recreational fishermen. The divers were our biggest supporters. And we just couldn't. I'd talk to guys in my shop. I know they had big boats, grouper fish, and I'd say, look, they're fixing to do that. Oh, they'll never do that. Well, 6 months later, they just did it. Because they'll send, if you go to one of the meetings, the Gulf Council will send you an email every time they're thinking about doing something. And once they start thinking about it, it's going to be within 1 year, usually, sometimes 6 months. You know, for a while, their big deal was they wanted us to have catch shares. They still do, which means you're going to go to Walmart and you're going to go, I want 25 gag grouper tags, and I want 20 mango snapper tags, and I want 15 red snapper tags. Your public resource they wanted you to buy back. They called it monitorizing the protein. And don't think they've given up on that. That's why we have different amount of days that a charter captain can fish and what you can fish for red snapper. That was slowly getting that catch shear thing in there. But we fought that pretty hard. They had more negative, or more reaction from the public than any other item they've ever had the first time they wanted to do it, and they canned it. But 6 months later, they snuck it in the winter, started having it at the meetings, and they have some charter captains that the Environmental Defense Fund funded, and they pay them, they fly them to all the meetings, and they were all about instituting that charter thing. So they get 40 days and you get 10 days. I don't have it, it's not the guide's fault. Most of them were against it. But if you got it, I don't blame them for using it. You're crazy not to. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off. I get so aggravated with our fisheries management.
Vance, at our age, we fall off that. You and I fall off that soapbox, we're gonna get bad hurt. So let's just be careful.
I just always tell people, be a CCA member. I used to tell them be an FRA member. I think Dennis finally, he gave a lot of years of his life just fighting the fight, living on next to nothing.
Wife gave up a job for it.
And he finally had to go to work. So now it's supposed to be CCA and ASA. Yes, sir.
Have you and your partner explored Port Manatee Channel?
I kind of stay out of there as far as the downrigger. I'll troll planers. The green side is really erratic up top. You control a planer, downrigger you're going to hang up. Red side, from halfway from the first buoy to the second going towards the channel, that's about 18 to 22 feet there. I'll troll that with a jig and the planer. Caught lots of fish there.
I can give you one hint. If you troll it with a downrigger, it's really grassy at the bottom.
Grassy.
And there, you can troll the center of the channel. I had a guy the other day said he was catching fish in the center of it.
We caught two of our biggest ones out there.
But the grass hasn't been overly bad the last month or two. And the nice thing with a downrigger over a planer or a plug, if you can get it down in clean water, the ball is going to stop all the grass at the ball and the release clip. Your line's still clear, so you can still troll. Now you might see your cable go up like that. I just slow down a little. You're still fishing until it just, then you get a giant pile. Then I just bring them in, clean them, try to find some clean water, get them back down, keep going. Questions?
On the west side, the bridge level you're talking about, now you would fish that when the tide's slack, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'll fish it like any other time. Sometimes if the wind's blowing on the east side pretty good, I'll go over, because the bridge, all them ground dolphins, they'll knock it down some. So you can still troll along there. There's like the trough. If you get too far to the west, there's a 16-foot spoil bank. If you get too close to the bridge, there's another spoil bank. The bridge used to be in a trough that's about 28 foot there. A lot of times on the channel, I'm just, once I get past here, I got one little rock pile past the second buoy, I'll hit it, and then I put them on usually 27 or 28, and I just go down and I'll snake off a little, and I'll come back up, and I'll go down, and I'll snake off, and I've caught lots of nice fish just doing that. Between that third and fourth buoy, I've caught 8 keepers. No real reason other than they live down the side, they're up there eating crabs. You come by them, a lot of times a fish on a break, he's ready to eat. You come back off him, all of a sudden here comes your lure in front of him as you come up. They'll pound it.
That's the green side?
Yes, sir. Red side too. I go on and off the red. I've been trolling the red more, and I've been having a lot of luck between the structure that ends about there and the bridge on 28, 29 foot. I've been doing good there. Been doing good. And I got structure that runs out. I don't usually go much past the second red buoy. Now if I'm going to troll with a tide on the green side and it's outgoing tide, I'm going to run down to Port Manatee and I'm going to troll all the way from there to halfway to the bridge. I catch nothing on this side between there and there. I will on this side, but for some reason, now we caught a nice 31.5 inch, 18 pounder right as we got to the first number 2 weeks ago. Nice fish. And they will lay that rod down, man. That's where you want to be able to steer out into the channel and just pull it back, keep it moving, but let the guy fighting them.
What's in the middle? Is there anything?
Yeah, we troll the middle. Yeah, there's fish out there. I used to troll the green side, right where it flattened out. man, if you're not paying attention, all of a sudden that rigger on that side's beating that wall. So if you see that bottom go up 2-3 of a foot, you got to be steering out into the channel. But there are a lot of rocks where they fell off the top and they're still close to that edge. There, to me, you're better to take your boat and just go look for them, see what the depth is, make a mark, you know, maybe put on the mark 38-foot rock pile. And when you come back, you know how deep to run your downriggers, and or you can come back and bottom fishing. The guy that does the Tampa Bay Fishing Channel, he a lot of his rock piles are out in the channel. How many guys got a spot lock trolling motor now? That is the best thing in fishing to come out. I don't know, man. That's just like great game changer. Absolutely phenomenal. I got a Rodan. You know, some guys like the Minn Kota. Some guys like Motor Guide. I think Motor Guide was kind of dragging with coming out with it compared to the other guys, but I got friends that got 39-foot contenders, and they got that big Rodan on the front there, and they love it. Mine was about 3 years old when it first gave me some trouble. I hadn't pulled an anchor in 3 years. It was like having a third arm that all of a sudden just disappeared, you know, where'd it go? And I do like to fish the Gulf a lot, and anchoring is half the battle. Charlie and I, we go on your boat. If you just bought a new boat, you don't know the bay, we'll take you in the bay. We'll show you if you want to learn shallow water spots. I tell you, bring a pad and pin. We'll bring a couple of rods, some lures, maybe some shrimp, and I'll go show you 12 or 15 spots. There's no secrets in the bay anymore, hardly. But I'll show you what you can catch there. I'll tell you what you can catch, what to use for bait, what tide to fish them on, how to fish them. And I just like teaching. I wish somebody had been there to do that for me. So I think fishing is, you know, I don't give my secret honey holes away, but like all that, you do a trip with me, I give you 47 numbers, out of which 40 are rock piles. You can go back and bottom fish them, or you can troll. This stuff here is good for kingfish too. Like when we got a big tournament and you can't go in the Gulf, you'll see the boats lined up because that structure creates current, and there's usually a lot of bait around it. And you'll see guys lined up in a line fishing all that roller coaster, I call it. Good snapper on it and good grouper on it. You can fish, you can really bottom fish about every number I'm giving you. But the difference why I push downriggers is, like I said, I've been out there. I've had 1 year, I had 6 30-fish days, 8 keepers each time. Other boats trolling, never saw them catch fish. We caught 30. That should tell you something works, you know, when you're catching that many and nobody else is. They're all having to go around you, cussing you, you know. And any other questions? Well, too, if you like to go offshore and you got a new boat, you're an inshore guy, we'll take you out and give you some numbers. We'll show you how to fish the mitigation sites out there, how to fish some of the big structure out there, you know, how to tie, how to fish for yellowtails, how to fish for mangoes and porgies and hog snapper and whatever you want to fish for. If I'm going trolling on your boat, it's got to have shade, and it's got to have at least 2 rod holders. I don't like having to put my rod in the rod holder on the downriggers, simply because it's, if you got it at a 90, you got to run it at a 45 in. A big fish is really hard to get out at a 90. With a 45, you just pull and it slides right out. So you got to have the rod holder set up right, decent electronics. I give you the numbers in front of the trip so you can get them all punched in. And I have a little 8-inch Lowrance on a sea sucker that I'll bring, plug in a cigarette lighter plug, and I'll punch you a few other numbers in on the red side. All I gave you was there, and here, and on down the channel a little bit. But there's a lot of stuff right through there to the second buoy. First red's right there. A lot of good fish in there. And when you're away from the structure, they're just up on that 28, 29 foot feeding. Anything else?
Is 4-ounce jig heads the lightest you use?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because then I know that's going to be about 3 foot below my ball. If it's too light, it's going to be up where the ball is. You want it below it. And like I say, some of that big structure, you'll be coming and you'll see your ball, and you go, man, it's going to hit it. That structure ain't as wide as your boat. So you're just going on each side of it. Now, if you're over to the side, you might hang it with one of them, with the lure. But it's pretty easy, really. Once somebody shows you, guys go, that's all there is to the downrigger? I go, yeah, in 15 minutes I have you working. It's a 3-man job, 2 guys working the riggers, 1 guy driving, and in 15 minutes I'll have you like a pro, like you've done it all your life. It's that simple. It's worth the money, bro. They got a great deal, 15% off. That's killer discount.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever have any problems with dolphins, and what do you do?
Yes, sir. And there's a new item out. It's called a depredation device. I call it a dolphin pinger. The only place selling it right now is Fishman's Ideal Supply over on Madeira Beach there. Right on the causeway, on up from Bay Pines. You'll see that place over on the right behind the fence. It's a little cylinder. It's in a thing about 6-inch long. Looks like a hot dog, a rubber thing. And you slip this thing, and all the longliners now are putting them every 150 foot on their long lines because the dolphins used to steal, they said, 5 to 10 grand of fish every trip. And they said because the dolphin will wait for that winch to start cranking, and he's smart enough to go grab the fish and let the winch rip it off the hook. But he said now they're bringing in 5 to 10 grand more every trip. They're $100. And I had a friend of mine that was bottom fishing the other day try it. He put it in 3 times. He had fish. He'd get a bite going. Here come the dolphins. When you put it below 3 foot, it starts emitting this. And he said they turn around and haul butt. That's worth $100 to me in the bay.
What's the call again?
It's. I meant to bring one, but I hadn't got it back from my friend yet. And I can get Doug and him to find out about it. I think they're going to sell real good. I don't know anybody that bottom fishes the bay wouldn't like to have one because the dolphins are getting worse every year. They really are.
You need to have a season for those.
I heard they fillet up really nice.
I've probably hooked 5 or 6 on the jigs because they'll come up, eat the fish. And I had probably the biggest fish I've ever hooked in the bay. And this one, I call him Orca. He looked like a small killer whale. Biggest dolphin I ever seen. He could not hold that fish in his mouth very long. He'd drop him, let me fight him, and he'd come grab him, run him away from the boat, and they'll play with you. They'll let you think you're going to get him, and then they'll come right up to the boat and grab him and take off. They're having fun with you. I asked Frank Sargent back in 2005. I'd never had a dolphin ever bother me trolling. All of a sudden, 2005 after that, or 2006 after the red tide, I thought, well, maybe their forage is down or something. And I said, why don't you do an article about that? And he called a couple of biologists. He said, all he told me is once one learns, he teaches the rest. Well, I want to know the son of a gun that taught me first one. I want to kill him. I want some revenge. But you'll see, I have a mother and a baby behind me all the time. When they're doing that, you may as well just quit fishing. If there's a lot of boats out there, if you stop, they'll go find another boat. Unfortunately, during the week, if you're the only one, tag, you're it. Unless you stop, and they'll eventually get bored. And I'm thinking now when I stop, I'm going to drop that pinger in and I'm going to make them be scared of my boat. They follow me because they know with downriggers you catch a lot of fish. They're smart fish.
In Panama, they've gotten so smart.
Pardon?
In Panama, they've gotten so smart when they follow the marlin boats and they pick those bonita off the lines like crazy.
Oh, they terrorize the Skyway Piers here, you know. And
well, the cast netters over there. Freaking
now that's the other thing. Think about it. Everybody goes to the Potter Pier to get bait. If you drop one of them in there, you might not have to fight the dolphins and have them tear your nuts no more.
What was it?
They say it goes out in deeper water about 100 yards. I think in shallow water, they say it doesn't emit it's quite as long, but
What was it?
I would say probably 150 feet.
3 years ago, that one dolphin was just killing everything.
Oh, yeah.
Man. And they're smart because they wait till you to fall bait.
People-
They come rip your net open.
The people that catch,
It's like hitting a pinata.
yep, the people that catch bait there, the people that sell nets love them because they sell lots of nets for them, you know. But it's called a depredation device. Fisherman's Ideal Supply carries them. I'll see if Doug can get them in here. And they work. My buddy said as soon as you put it 3 foot deep, it starts emitting. So I got about a 4-pound buoy weight on it. On a rope, you can feed the rope right through there. I just lower it down about 6, 8 feet or 20 feet, whatever you want to do. And he says they just turn and run.
Is it battery operated?
Yeah, it's got little like I think it's got 4 little like AA size. But it works killer.
Doesn't scare the fish.
Nope. Just makes the dolphins leave, yes sir.
Do you have a specific app that you use for the lunar tables?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to show you up here on my iPad, and I'll show you the weather app I use too. It's called fishweather.com. The Salooner one I use is called saloonerforecast.com, and I'll show you how to work it.
Are they sites or apps?
They're free
Your website.
websites.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I guess I should call them that.
Fish Weather's an app, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that.
You can pay to get more, and there's another one called windy.com that you can punch up currents. It'll actually show you where the Gulf Stream is in the Gulf and in the East Coast, and you can go out and put your finger on it wherever you want. It'll pop up a thing that'll give you the weather, the wind for the week, current information. There's some neat sites out there that NOAA and Channel 8 and all them don't have a clue.
Windy's tell you the direction, it'll tell you.
Yeah, Windy gives you a lot of info.
It does tides too.
Yep.
On the lower part.
Fish weather has tides on it, and the tides you want to use for the change at the bridge is St. Pete Pier. If you look at your book, like the old Florida Sportsman Tide Planner, it'll tell you Skyway is 2 hours and 22 minutes earlier than the pier. But the deal is, when it's high there, it's not high in Safety Harbor. So really, St. Pete Pier about evens it out. I used to think the tide was always wrong, and a friend of mine told me, dummy, use the St. Pete tide. So I just look it up.
A lot of electronics now, like my little Vance. It's tied wherever you're at.
There's a lot of tide apps out there. I just like Fish Weather and Windy. Everything that makes my life easier when I'm fishing, I'm all for that. Just like a spot lock trolling motor or a dolphin pinger. Or hey, you're out there to catch fish. I like to eat fish, and I like to put people on fish. And you'll ask me, there's about 2.5 weeks out of the month I like to troll. I don't like to go around the new moon or the full moon. And everybody, well, that's the days you got 4 stars. I go, yeah, that's great for the inshore guy, for trout rods and stuff. They want that tide moving. You don't want that hauling ass tide. You want the 1-star days.
It seems like, and I'm just getting used to this, but I look at my Simrads, or even if I do plan ahead of time and I see a low tide or something at 10 a.m. out front of Fort Manatee, I get there at 10 a.m., it's ripping.
Yeah.
I'm
Sometimes
like, why
it
are my
is.
tides so far off? Even my Simrad or Lowrance, it seems like it's so far off.
Tides
I mean,
can
2
be like
hours.
that. But I tell you, I find most of the time fish weather's tides are pretty accurate. Like today, their wind's usually spot on 49 out of 50 days. Today, it said it's going to be 8 to 10, 7 to 9. When I got up, it said 4 to 8. It was blowing 6 miles an hour. When I got out there, it was blowing 15, and it still was saying 8 to 10.
So
They don't miss it many days, though.
use the website. What was the website for the tide, and use St. Pete Pier?
I use Fish Weather. It has tides on it. Or you can just get a tide. Most of your tide programs are for St. Pete Pier.
Okay, and that's the tide. That's
When it's going to
the
change
bridge?
at the bridge, ideally. Maybe if you're at Port Manatee, it'll probably be a little bit later, but it's real close.
Okay.
Some days you can have the wind pushing that tide, and it'll keep going longer than it should. But like today, it was butting it up. It slowed down and changed about when it was supposed to.
That's the difference between here. The biggest difference between here and the Chesapeake is the tides.
Well, when you're trolling in the Gulf, all you want is a moving tide because it's not compressed, so it's generally not near as fast as the tide in the bay. You just, you know, if you bottom fish, you know when the tide quits, you may as well eat because the fish quit. As soon as that tide turns and starts going, so there you know, if it's an incoming, you want to troll north. If it's an outgoing, you want to troll south. The thing in the bay, in the Gulf, if you're going to troll, you don't want to just troll the desert. You want to troll hard bottom. You want to troll ledges. You want to troll rock piles. You don't just go out and troll the desert, you know. So that's where the fish are going to be. And then if you got the saloon, and I tell you, the red grouper, religiously, out in 120 foot, I can't tell you how many days. I had a buddy, he always likes to go in early because he don't like to fight the traffic. He lives in Carrollwood. And one day, you know, if you have a major right before dawn, your morning bite's going to suck. You'll have a minor, maybe noon, somewhere around there. You'll get a little bite, but there's going to be a good bite in the afternoon at the same time on the major. Back when it don't get dark so dang early. But I've been out there, and he wanted to go home one day. I said, nope, tide change 1:30. He goes, oh no, I mean the salooner's at 1:30. I said, we ain't going. We burn too much gas in this big regulator to not go home with fish. You know, we always kill them at this spot. That day they were tough. 1:30, we caught our limit of 20 fish, 25 guys, when it was 4 apiece. So he goes, well, I guess they feed at 1:30 every day. I go, no, it changes every day. He's hard-headed, man. He's from New Jersey, and
Well, that's the, again, that's the difference.
he's
in
just
tides.
hard-headed, you know.
If the tide this Thursday is at 1:30, high, next week at 1:30 be low.
Well,
It's
and tomorrow it's going to be at 2:30. It's generally going to be 50 minutes to an hour
Yeah,
later.
but I'm talking about week to week. But
Oh, yeah.
Here you can have a 4 tide day, a long 1 tide day.
Like on this
You can
little
have-
piece of paper I had today, I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And each day it's about an hour later. So like tomorrow, you guys, you got a major from 8:11 to 10:11, tide change at 10:02. So that should be game on if they're going to eat. And maybe getting another day off that if you got a big front come through, usually the next day or two is going to suck. Because that bluebird sky's up there and that high pressure's on them. Now if you can fish a day or two before the front coming in, away from that, that's when you're going to catch them this time of the year. I'm sorry, I know I can go on
Take your
forever,
time.
Steve.
No. I'm just.
Any questions?
The questions are slowing down, and I'm just getting up this way to get myself together.
What's
Thank
your
y'all.
favorite rig for bottom fishing?
What's that, sir?
What's your favorite rig for bottom fishing?
Depends if I'm fishing grouper or snapper.
So grouper.
Sometimes I'll use a knocker rig. Sometimes I'll use a slip weight rig. Just depends what kind of bait I'm using.
What's your ideal bait and size?
A lot of times when the water's cold and the fish won't chase anything, I use a frozen sardine. Right now, Todd's been killing them on pinfish. They will eat whitebait. They'll eat a big threadfin. I got one guy he catches the big threadfins by a marker and they kill them too. So if you can get some menhaden, shad, they'll eat the heck out of them dead or alive. Those fish put out a hell of a smell. They'll stink your well up and slime it all up, but if you got a big well, you can keep a few dozen alive. They're like candy, the grouper and the kingfish. Spanish sardines, cigar minnows when you're offshore. You know, there's a lot of good grouper baits. Snakefish, when I'm drift fishing, I love to catch a snakefish. I'll cut him about that far behind the head and I'll hook him right up through the jaws, out the roof of the mouth. I'll put that jig down there and I can catch 5, 6 fish on him. They can't rip him off. I started using the octopus. They sell packs, a dozen packs of octopus about that big. They're really tough. And if you got the tentacles off, yellowtails love them. Big mangoes love them too. So there's lots of good baits out there.
You say snakefish, that's the same as a lizardfish?
Sir?
Yeah.
Is it snakefish
Yes, sir,
or
absolutely.
lizardfish?
And the nice thing, I used to be able to say, I never caught a lizardfish on a jig. They'll eat your plugs up. I've caught one in 30 years. One time I caught one last year. That's the other nice thing. You don't have all the lizard fish bothering you all the time.
She catches lizard fish.
So good.
Believe it or not, they say they're pretty good to eat. I ain't tried one yet, but I don't know about that.
Darn good for snook too.
Oh yeah. My back's about had it.
Well, guys, let's give
Thank
Mr.
you,
Vance
guys.
some huge. I'm telling you from the experience of doing this for 11 years, that right there, for where he's talking about, is as good as it gets. If Mahoney says it is, that's all I need to know. So,
Vance, if they don't have a shade on their boat and they want to go fishing with you, what do they do?
bring an umbrella.
Go in my boat. I'll take you in my boat. I got a 24 Schaefer. I'll take up to 4 guys. I'll give you the numbers. You can split them up with your buddies, and you can split the cost of the trip.
I got shades.
And got a
And
Schaefer.
me.
We really
I got shades. I got 2 shades.
So what's it costing for a trip?
500. If you got 4 guys, 100,
There you go.
100 and a quarter apiece, or 100. Yeah, 100 and a quarter apiece.
Is that a half day or a full day? Or
It's about 5 hours.
okay.
I don't really put a time on it. The fish are eating. We're going to fish till they quit, and I'll go, guys, they're done.
All right.
They'll let you know when they're through. And I've had them eat for 5 hours straight. Every
that-
day's a different day.
Is that on your boat or on?
Either one.
My boat.
Either
Gotcha.
one. I got cards if you want them. Be glad to give you a card, and I'll be glad to show you the apps after Steve gets through there. I know Doug probably wants to go home. Well, I didn't tell you, say it.
Looking a little sleepy back there.
Getting up at 4.
I got up at 4:30 this morning.
Does
and
everyone
I'm
have
old.
everyone have a little blue ticket?